No.
Okay. Had to take the dog out and stuff. Oh, and I should go live here. Are we live? Woo! We are live. Everything should be going good. I'm going live here. We are arriving. We are in a slightly different dimension for Queer Talk today, as a matter of fact. Had to take the dog out, had some things that I had to take care of. Happy holidays, first of all. I know a lot of friends and streamers are taking a break from streaming and social media and whatnot for the holidays, but since, we couldn't exactly be with a lot of our family or friends during the holidays, we figured we'd just go as hard as we could till the end of the year and, pick it up as best we can. What up, Marmar? What up, Dropout Photography? What's up, Andrew? Hey, guys. So sorry that I'm late. I had to take my dog outside. I'm live on a couple of platforms. I'm at least live on YouTube and on Instagram. I was trying to go live on Periscope and on... Can I move this microphone so I can see this? There we go. Is that better? What's up? Love you. What's up, Andrew? Hello. What's up, guys? And, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were going in. Xander's helping me. We're not actually karate chopping each other as though it may appear. Hi-ya! Like, no. But shout out to Xander.
I'm in your bubble too. So
You're in my bubble?
I'm still
Okay.
just be attentive to the...
Alright, Xander's still helping me. What is this? I had this set up. Now it says... What?
No, just wait.
Oh my goodness. This is a slightly different dimension than I'm used to for Queer Talk, but bear with us. We're still going to do episode 4 of Queer Talk. It'll just look slightly different. It is what it is. Welcome to another episode of Queer Talk. I'll try to get going once Xander's done here. He's helping me out with some stuff, getting everything good. It is all good. It is all good. There are...
See if this captures. This should have audio. Does it need to be in here?
I'm not I mean, you don't want it there. What are you doing?
No, it shouldn't. I'm just trying to see if any kind of...
Sorry, guys. We'll be getting started. Guys,
Can they
gals,
hear that?
non-binary pals. Can you guys hear everybody? I know you should be able to hear me good on YouTube. Hello, on YouTube and on Instagram. I certainly hope so. Do you mind checking on the other, on YouTube, like on this computer for me? Or I can... Alright guys, 1 second. I'm just gonna... I'd hate to do the whole episode of Queer Talk and be muted or have shitty audio like last time, so let me try to tweak my settings here. Not here. We're gonna go... Give me 1 second. I'll be right with you guys. Hope everybody had a good Christmas, good and happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa to everybody. Sending love. I want to just double check that we're not having any technical difficulties. Sometimes they occur. Episode 4. I feel like I can't really check actually. Yeah, thank you, Xander.
I'm in the middle of...
I appreciate it.
A couple things. So.
I apologize. I wasn't even trying to pull. I actually, shout out to Xander. He's a real one. He's adapting with me this evening as, it's the holidays, so things are kind of crazy during the holidays. Am I right? So here I am, Queer Talk, episode 4, and there's been a lot that's been on my mind. I have a lot of episodes planned. This one is going to be...
Turn up on mic.
On the mic? Okay, how do I do that? Here?
On that side, yeah.
This one here? Is that better? Check. Mic check. Ta. Maybe up a little more. Check. Is that better?
It's a delay.
Oh, true. I don't want to blow your ears out. What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well.
Oh, can you get the chat just like
I can't.
on the other side?
How? Let me see. Ooh, I had a totally different format, and it looks like I'm...
much better. Yeah.
It's better now?
Okay.
Okay. I am going to try to get the chat up over here. Literally, I'm kind of having to adapt a little bit. It's all good though.
No, I would leave it up.
Leave
the
it.
audio up on that other side. That's good.
Do I need to change anything? Because I know there's a delay, so I'm gonna wait before. Can everybody hear me okay on Instagram that's with me? Thank you for your patience. I apologize again. I was a couple minutes late getting live. There were a couple of platforms that were giving me some attitude, so I was just let me see. Do I need to log in to see it? I can just go. This is really
Okay, I started
bothering
typing.
me. Why? Let's see.
Yeah, that's good. There, you can see my typing.
This is bothering
Look
me.
at see.
Can see your typing.
It says hello.
Okay,
everyone.
good.
Yeah, at least the prototype.
What is going on here? Okay, we're just gonna have to roll with it. My OCD is being put to the test. It's okay. Mental health awareness. Represent. These were not the droids I was looking for. Just so you know. But we're gonna roll with it because either way, the discussion can still take place. I can still see your questions and answers on Instagram and on YouTube. So feel free.
Yeah, we'll deal with Facebook and Periscope later.
We'll deal with Facebook and Periscope later. They're both giving me some attitude. So Facebook and Periscope. We'll talk later, mofos. So welcome to another episode of Queer Talk, and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I am Norell, half of. Sorry, I'm in a weird spot.
Why is it?
I feel like I just had like some noodles, and I'm like.
See this?
Yeah.
This why this. Like,
Thank you, Xander, for helping me with this.
I'm actually not. I'm just explaining that. Look. I'm actually not. I'm just showing you how malleable. There you go.
Cool.
No, that won't help you. No,
what's gonna help me? Like
I'm
this, just holding it. Should I just hold it? Okay, cool. Maybe if I just hold it, I don't know. I'm having a hard time. All good, baby. Riding in Minneapolis again tonight, so this is a welcome escape. I'm so sorry to hear that, Marmar. I'm so sorry to hear that, Marmar.
I'm trying to help you for a moment.
I know you're trying to help me.
Look.
Thank you, Xander. What can I do?
The tripod.
Okay.
Look.
Yeah.
It's completely malleable. You can move everything how you need it for the camera, so you can set it up.
Okay, cool. What up, Lil Mimi? Hey,
Yeah.
What up, everybody? Sorry.
It's malleable. It's wired.
We good.
Overthinking it.
All right, we're just gonna turn down the lights here. All right. The holidays are always a little stressful for me personally, so sending love and hugs and much love. Shout out to Marmar Superstar, Dropout Photography, Andrew Emilio. We have Lil Mimi. What's up, everybody? Sending love. Thank you for bearing with me. We're a little late this evening, but we're still here. And Queer Talk episode 4. I wanted to open the discussion today. And first of all, the premise of why I started Queer Talk. First of all, my name is Norell, and I am one half of the band Famous. The other half is my awesome partner, Xander, and I couldn't make the band Famous without him. We make music, we make art, we do all kinds of stuff. We run a business, we run a venue. We're a really great team, and I just can't imagine. Man, shout out to Xander, so thank you. This would have been a lot more stressful for me without his help, even getting started with the dog and some things, but anyway, the reason I started Queer Talk is, if you didn't know, I'm your friendly very indie rock star / porn star, and I'm sharing my experiences in the queer culture that I've experienced personally as a happily married bisexual. I'm gonna throw some labels, okay? A happily married bisexual, queer, ethical, non-monogamous, polyamorous woman, and I am referring to some notes because I just don't want to leave anything out. But I know that's a lot of labels, but I'm just a little bit different, okay? When we might be different, we might not see the same way, but queer literally translating to mean different or strange. And people are strange, as they say, right? And likewise, some people are queer, like me and Xander, and we love them and we love each other, and everybody is welcome. Queer Talk is a safe space where anybody is welcome. This is a safe space for LGBTQAI+, whatever you identify as, and allies, and Q&A are always welcome. The only rule is that we keep it respectful, we keep it kind, and we just, remember that this is an open discussion. This isn't like, I'm right, you're wrong, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, we need to respect each other's differing perspectives that may come up. And so today's episode is a little more narrowed in, but I wanted to open the discussion of, and I'll tell you what brought me to this after we go through this, but I want to open the discussion of if and when it is ever appropriate to call a woman a whore versus calling a woman a slut. So first of all, I should say trigger warning. What's up, Rudy? I apologize, I didn't say trigger warning in advance, but I wanted to open up the discussion of using certain terminology towards our female and female identifying counterparts, or male to female, our trans friends, anybody who identifies as a female gender. Okay, let's just say that. That's what I'm focusing on when I talk about whore or slut, because I feel like, first of all, true or false, do you feel that the words whore or slut are used more towards a given gender, or do you know what I mean? Like, is it more like, do you hear it more towards women, or do you hear it more towards men? What's up? Hey, what's up, Rudy? What's up, Exotic Discipline? So that's like the first thing that I want to put on the plate, put on the table for this episode, is where you often hear those words, right? Whore and slut, right? They can be, perhaps, hey, Lil Mimi, oh, you're amazing. Shout out. There's actually a couple stars that are in our music video hanging out with us on Queer Talk, so it's going to be amazing. And Xander has been working on the footage that he's been shooting with them, and it's incredible, and it's so exciting. But yeah, I wanted to, first of all, just open that up. Thank you to everybody. Yes. Okay, Exotic Discipline is sharing his feedback. We're getting some feedback. He says yes, more towards women.
I would say sit back for the audio all around.
Sit back? Am I too close? Okay.
I feel like
sorry.
I feel like you're smashing into the camera.
Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, more towards women. Okay, so Exotic Discipline and Marmar Superstar are both speaking up, and they're saying that the words like whore and slut are more typically geared or directed towards women or like female identifying genders, right? Okay, so yeah, shout out Lil Mimi, shout out to Andrew Emilio as well. There are a couple of the stars in the music video. So yeah, thank you Exotic Discipline, and thank you Marmar Superstar for sharing your feedback that you feel that whore and slut is typically said towards women. Maybe there are some men out there, or even gay men, or I'm not sure, but if there's anybody out there who have experienced it themselves, who've been, called a whore or a slut, like if that, speak up, because we don't want to, we don't want to be ignorant. We want to kind of be more just open-minded and more empathetic and compassionate for each other, right? So going forward on that, so the discussion is leaning towards, yes, whore and slut is typically used more towards women, right? And so I wanted to share some ideas. So one of those is, some women, true or false, might like to be called a whore or a slut, right? Though I'm sure maybe according who's saying it and how, right? I actually read a pretty good article. Emma Austin, I believe her name is Emma Austin. She writes for Medium, and she wrote this great article, and it's part of what prompted me, because I have a few episodes for Queer Talk I want to share with you guys and gals and non-binary pals. But I read some of the comments after reading this article that I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of relatable. So she is also a practicing poly woman, and she was sharing how, for her personally at least, her husband, when her husband calls her slut, like, oh, you're such a good little slut or something like that, like, it really turns her on. But yet, if she hears it from, like, someone new she might be seeing, for example, like a guy she just started dating, it's not okay. Like, they can absolutely not talk to her that way, right? And, true or false, that is a valid thing. I say true. Exotic Discipline is saying true that some, I think you're saying true that some women like to be called that sometimes, right? But, like, depending on the circumstance and, like, who it's coming from. So I will say, I read... Actually, we'll go into that in a bit. Before I digress, this is why I take notes, you guys, because sometimes I can get just excited and go on tangents. But so yeah, some people might like to be called whores or sluts, depending on the circumstance and who's saying it, right? And the tone and all that. But true or false, maybe we need to be sure that we have those conversations before we use these words as a form of, we'll call it pillow talk, because for some it is a form of pillow talk, like, oh, you're such a good little whore, you're such a good little slut, right? but it depends how it's said, again, right? True or false. And so I was thinking, you know, what happens if like you approach someone in such a way and you think that they're going to be turned on by it, but it might be a trigger word for them, right? Because not everybody is going to necessarily have the same pillow talk. I mean, we're all on a spectrum, and kinks are pretty fluid, just like gender. Am I right? So that was something that I was thinking a lot about, and I wanted to open that to discussion and get some of your thoughts. And I'm looking at a couple of chats here, so definitely share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. But yeah, so going on that, like, true, some girls, some women, some gender identifying, you know, some non-binary pals that may identify more feminine or women may like being called a whore or a slut sometimes. Marmar says 100, right? Depending on how it's said and everything. But yeah, we need to have these words. We need to have these discussions in advance to make sure that we're on the same page. And I mean, this probably goes with all other partnerships as well, not just queer partnerships, but just communication as a whole, right? Like knowing what people are okay with, right? Establishing boundaries in any relationship is important, regardless if you're queer or not queer. So even straight people and like all my vanilla friends, you might even be able to take something away from today's episode, okay? So I'm just saying. I think it might be important to have this conversation and expand on it and continue to share and open this discussion more. So yeah, on that note, like some people might really like it, but some people it might have the opposite effect, and you know, it might actually kill the vibe. As you know, even this writer shared in some of her experiences how like, you know, something happened that was totally, even her husband did something completely innocent and it completely triggered her, and it was like they ended up just like what was turning into like a what was going to be like a raunchy, wild, you know, super sexy, intimate, you know, romp in the sheets turned into like kind of more like a comforting, like Netflix and chill, like you know, and he comforted her, and you know, as every good husband should or partner should, whatever the gender, whatever the, you know, whether gay, bi, trans, whatever, you know, it doesn't even matter. It's just the support, right? So so that it's very important to know the boundaries with someone and to know if, you know, something that might turn you on, like you might, for example, let's say I like when Xander calls me a good little slut. So let's say I meet up with a girl and I'm like getting really into it and I'm really turned on and I'm like, yeah, you're a good little slut, aren't you? And she fucking starts crying because she has some kind of trigger with that word. And I didn't know that because I was maybe too hot in the moment, too hot-headed. Like, obviously I didn't mean to make her cry. I didn't mean to, like, you know, have her experience something traumatic or remember some traumatic memory that she's trying to heal from. Like, I'm trying to make her feel good in the moment, right? So that's an idea where it's like it's important to have these conversations and talk about these things, right? Hello, what up, Night Deposits? Thank you for joining. So that's one angle. Yeah, and so that was a big thing. And also talking about, now I'm going to close my notes and just kind of go further here. So talking more and expanding more about like the definition. What up, Mattis? What up, everybody stopping by? So let's think about the definitions, if you will, and the appropriation. Let's open this up. If and when, besides, as we discussed, like pillow talk, when people are into pillow talk, you know, if they're into it, some people are, some people aren't, and it's very important to know that before, you know, we bring it into the bedroom, right? So for other people, those might be like it might have very differing effects. It might not turn them on in the least. So it's very important to have this discussion, right? So again, let's dive in a little further though and think about it. So what I'm about to say, anyone out there who may watch this, who may perceive
it's really dark.
Should I turn the lights on? Sorry, I kind of liked, I brought the lights down low. Turn your lights down low, right? Okay, I'll bring the lights back on, all right? So we set the tone, we set the mood. We're gonna bring it back up, okay? Lighten the topic. So let's talk a little bit more about the words whore and slut, right? And let's talk about what maybe they can actually mean a little bit deeper. Because for some people, they're just like, I don't know, it's a derogatory, insulting word. That's all I know. It's typically thrown at women. That even, you know, people have talked about in the chat as like it's more often something they hear from women. So here's something to think about, right? I actually identify, I label myself as an ethical slut, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Ethical meaning I don't go behind my husband's back. I don't cheat on him, if you will. First of all, we don't cheat on each other. We're ethical non-monogamy goes into this as well, and is similar to polyamory, where we are not possessive and controlling and jealous, and no disrespect to people out there that may struggle with these things. You'll hopefully you can get through it, because jealousy is definitely not good for anyone, and it's a kind of a get well soon thing. But for example, even when Xander and I first got together, like 10 years ago, right? Because we've been together for over 10 years. There were guys and gals on both sides. Like I had a friends with benefits who was in my DMs like, oh, Xander doesn't need to know, kind of thing, right? And I was like, well, that's not gonna fly. Like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go behind his back and do that. Like, I just told you I'm in a serious relationship now, and that's what I mean. And we weren't even poly right away, right? So it was just like completely out of the question. And I was just like, wow, hey, what's up, dude? Thanks for stopping by, Marcus. And so then, and there were girls as well that, had dated Xander, and they were like, oh, well, Norell doesn't have to know, like, I can keep a secret, and all this. And it was just like, wow, like, it's kind of disrespectful when you think about it, if perhaps. I guess that's what I mean by the ethicalness of being a slut, is just like not being a homewrecker to a degree. So like, for example, there's been a lot of women that have really, really like hard been after Xander over the years, all right? And I've always been cool with it, but the problem is they're married too, and their partner isn't cool with it, and they've actually lied to Xander and said that their partner knows that they're actually, they're like, oh, my husband and I are poly. They'll straight up lie to Xander, and he'll be like, oh, your husband's okay with, you hanging out with me and like, going to a movie or whatever. And then sometimes they'll just straight out ghost him when it's like, oh fuck, he's gonna keep insisting that my husband's okay with this, right? Like we catch on to the game, like, really? Because it's like sometimes you can just sniff out a cheater. It's just the way it is, okay? And similarly, there have been guys that even in New York, in the Midwest, and probably in Cali if I scratched my head, but I think everywhere pretty much, but everywhere that we've lived, at least in the Midwest, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, New York, Cali, there have been attached men who have always been like, oh, I'd love to help make some of your guys' fantasies come true, and like, I'd love to, basically have a threesome or something like this, whatever it may be. And Xander and I are like, wait, but, and sometimes we even know who they're dating, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, they're definitely, like, you guys are definitely not, like, open like that, so don't even play, right? So, what I'm saying is perhaps, if you're going to use those words in like a derogatory way or an insulting way, and I'm not encouraging this or promoting this, because I think we should ultimately be kinder and nicer to each other, and name calling, they say sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. It all hurts. Yes, sticks and stones will physically break your bones. Words hurt you too, so maybe, don't follow this episode and then be like, who can I go and call a whore now, or go call a slut? I want to see if they get triggered, if they get turned on. Like, don't do that, right? Marmar says, some get off on the sneaking around aspect. In my opinion, that's unhealthy. I agree. Would you say that it's perhaps similar to people who have like I don't want to call anybody out, but people that have like a klepto problem or something, where it's like they get off on the feeling that they might get caught stealing something from like some big company or something, even if it's something stupid, right? Like some stupid petty little shit that they steal, when they make that no problem and can afford to get it, right? And I'm in Cali, so it's legal for me to puff this, so I'm gonna hit this to y'all real quick. Cheers, happy holidays, and let's think about this. How you doing, Rudy? Yeah, we're discussing the terminology of whore and slut and appropriation, and cheers, happy holidays, Feliz Navidad, much love. Much love from Cali, fam. Much love to everybody not in Cali. I see some friends in Cali, some friends elsewhere. Oh my goodness. Still enjoying. Cheers. So a little more food for thought, okay, with this episode. Is what I'm saying is some people, as Marmar said, some people get off on the sneaking around aspect, which is unhealthy, right? Not only is it unhealthy because they tend to detonate a lot of their relationships, arguably, but it's unhealthy because they can also bring other people into the, like, storm of it. You know what I mean? It's like you're not really giving someone a slice of cake. You're, like, bringing them into, like, you're just, like, creating chaos, and, like, it's like all these innocent bystanders are getting hurt when they shouldn't be getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like, there's an ethical way to go around it. There's ethical ways to be a slut. There's even ethical ways to be a whore or whatever. I'm like, you know, I'm just putting it out there, true or false. Like, I'm putting it all on the table right now. But what I'm saying is, if you really technically break it down, slut is typically sometimes, like, okay, personally me, like I said, I like when Xander calls me a good little slut if we're, like, you know, having a good time. Occasionally, a friend with benefits can call me that word and I'll be okay with it, but I kind of related to the chick where I'm like, you know, it's how she said it was like, if you're saying it to me, it better be with love and respect, and like, yeah, like, ooh, like, damn, that feels good, like, damn, you're so good, like, something like that, right? It's not like, you're a fucking degraded piece of shit, like, not, it's like the intention, right? True or false? Oh, miss you too. Oh my goodness, hope you had a good Christmas. But yeah, so anyways, so slut can sometimes be like, it can be something that some people may like and some people might get triggered as. We talked about this, right? Similarly, you know, and you can be like, for example, I'm married to Xander and I'll be like, I'm your slut, right? So I've tried things with him that I never tried before I dated him. Like, I did threesomes with a man, for example. I have been with two guys at the same time. That's something I've never done before being with Xander, and that's something we did, you know, some years into our relationship, and it was actually, I was surprised that I actually liked it. I used to be a prude, admittedly, okay? No disrespect to my vanilla friends that might be tuning in. I once only thought about, like, you know, threesomes with girls and stuff, but even that is, you know, I don't know. I was still in, a lot of my friends have told me, even when I've told them that I do porn, they're like, you were not a slut, and you definitely weren't on the list of the sluts that I knew, and you were kind of shy, and you were kind of a prude, honestly. And they're like, LOL, no offense. And I'm like, LOL, none taken, because honestly, I was a workaholic back then, and I'm still kind of a workaholic. Hey, what's up? Say hi to your girlfriend. So yeah, it's, you know, it's all, you always have to find a balance no matter what you do. You have to find the boundaries. You have to know the boundaries. You have to know the balance of things, right? But again, so we talked about some of the application of the word slut, how sometimes it can be like a sexy term, right? Like, whatever. But if you think about the word whore, true or false, typically at least, if you really think about it, a whore is someone who exchanges sex for money, right? And I'm not shaming any sex workers who do that. Some might say that I am because I've done some porn scenes. It's a little bit different than, you know, and again, I'm not trying to throw any shade, but I'm not escorting myself or, hang on, what is this? I'm not, you know, out on the corner, for example. I'm not like, hey, Xander, I'm going to go pick up some random stranger and just, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, first of all, I'm not desperate for dicks either, or pussy or any of that. Like, I'm happily married. Xander is very blessed in that department. Not the only reason I married him. You know, he's got a great sense of humor, great heart. We obviously have a lot of the same dreams and visions and goals in common and are just an incredible team. But he does have a great dick, I'm not gonna lie. So shit, that's a, you know, icing on the cake, I suppose. Nothing to complain about. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because, no joke, I will get people messaging me on, like, different porn sites, and they'll call me a whore, and, like, a lot of the times I'll just ignore those people because I'm like, first of all, I'm definitely not a whore, at least to that degree. And no, again, no disrespect. Like, I know people who have exchanged and whatnot who have, you know, lived in Vegas or otherwise, like, and no disrespect, because everybody has the right to do whatever they want with their body, and I'm about free will, and I'm not here to judge, but I'm saying sometimes, you know, using that word might trigger people because they might take things really literally, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I just wanted to put it on the table. But, like, you know, if you're saying that to someone, they might actually take it that way, and they're like, I would never, and that's not me, and blah blah blah. And it's like, that's not necessarily even, you know, it's like sometimes people will say these words intentionally just to hurt people as well, and that's never okay. And like I said, I do not, like, I want to more talk about, like, if and when it is okay to sometimes use these words, because I also, for example, besides, let's set the word slut and the word whore aside for a moment, and there's someone that I know who's a fan of our porn, and she actually likes to be called it and likes to be called slave, and even though this is her wish, I can't help but see her as a queen still, and I address her as a queen, and she's always like, thank you, you know, and like very, like, she's very submissive. You know, some people are really submissive like that. Some people want to be fucking like some, you know, but it's like some people aren't. Some people need a lot of freedom. So it's like, again, you have to like know, like, if what you're into, and if like the person you're with is into the same things you're into. Like, getting to know someone's kinks is very important, because that includes how you speak to each other and how you communicate with each other in and outside of the bedroom, right? Because you don't want to, like, arguably, I don't think you want to trigger the one you love, and I don't think, like, I think arguably the person you're with, you want to make them feel good, you want to make them feel cared for, you know, you want to Netflix and chill together, and sometimes you want to have wild, nasty sex together. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that and really bring that discussion out a little bit, because one of the things I read, I mentioned the article about how this writer was like, I love when my husband calls me slut, but it's kind of like, the way she said it was, you know, if you call me slut, it better be because you love and respect me, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, so you can check out, you can find her. I mentioned her in the article. If you want to rewind, you can find it. Maybe someone will timestamp it in the comments. But Emma Austin for Medium, and she's talking about the word slut and whatnot, and like the appropriation for her. And I read the comments after reading the article, and someone in the article goes, his opinion, and he's talking about the word whore. Full disclaimer, Lana Rifkin, hallo meine Schwester, Lana Rifkin, alles gut, frohe Weihnachten. Oh my goodness, welcome. So I'm actually doing Queer Talk, and I'm talking about an article that I read recently that's part of what prompted me to talk about really breaking down the words whore and slut. And we have had an open discussion, and hello my love, thank you Lana for stopping by. We've had an open discussion that seems to be that the word whore and slut is most oftenly used or geared towards women or our female identifying friends, our non-binary pals that, you know, identify more feminine. And we're talking about more like, we're definitely discouraging, we're not condoning, we're not endorsing. In fact, I would say I'm doing the opposite of that, using these words to ever hurt anybody or bring anybody down, because, you know, inevitably, you know, there is, you know, obviously in society with, you know, even the Mary Magdalene and things in the Bible, like with, you know, Mary the Holy Virgin and Mary the whore, there's, you know, first of all, being my first name being Mary, I go by Norell, my middle name, but that always bothered me. I'm like, wait a minute. So yeah, that whole like paradigm thing, like doubles, like, it's just like, it's been around forever, and so inevitably you could possibly say, right, true or false, that might even trigger someone on some level, because it's so, like, some people would say it's part of society, but I would say that we need to heal that and kind of take the power back. And I think that maybe, at least for me, I didn't always like being called a slut, okay? First of all, I definitely wasn't, according to all of my friends that I've since shared some of my porn with. I don't even know if you knew, Lana, but yeah, so my husband and I do make indie porn. We've been doing it for a few years. We just went public with it the beginning of 2020, pre-COVID, just a little bit before. Marmar said, I feel like in the right context / situation, any word is okay if you have the discussion. That is a very valid point, and that's, thank you for saying that, Marmar. That's kind of where I was going. That's like what I was hoping. Thank you, Marmar. Yes. So yes, if you have the discussion, if you know the boundaries, if you know what someone is okay being called, what they're not being called, like I said, some word may be a trigger word for someone. I will admit, I used to even be triggered by the word slut. I was called one before I was ever sexually active, along with other words. Whore too. Okay, both of those words. So both of them, you know, for me, it's been a healing process to be okay being called a slut by my husband when I am a good little slut, you know, for him. And it's like, I'm not obviously a slut. Like, I'm not sleeping with married men behind their wives' backs. I'm not like up in all my, you know, I'm not trying to like sleep with all my married friends that aren't in polyamorous or ethical non-monogamous relationships. You know what I mean? Like, I'm only doing it when it feels like ethical. Okay, that's what I mean by an ethical slut, by ethical non-monogamy, and basically doing it the right way. Like Marmar even said, there are people that get off on the idea of being caught, and that's unhealthy, and I agree, and I appreciate that point in the discussion. But yeah, in the right context, any word is okay if you have the right discussion. Yeah, and actually, part of healing from some of the ways that these words, because, you know, words can be used in many ways with intention. Like, you can be like, you're a sexy slut, or you could be like, you're a fucking slut. You know what I mean? And it's like totally different. Like the way you deliver it, the tonation, the body language, like, you know, it can be delivered so many different ways and mean completely different things, you know, like with your intention. And so that's something I wanted to bring up as well, where I understand. That's why I said trigger warning in advance, and apologies to anybody who might get triggered by those words. I definitely understand. And I'm not saying that everyone is going to heal by being called a slut or whore and being okay with it, or like having their partner call them that in the bedroom and be okay with it. For the record, I still don't like being called a whore. No disrespect to, you know, anyone who might actually be an actual whore. Like I said, like, no disrespect. Like, all women and all men deserve love and respect. It doesn't matter. Sex work is still work. You know, I'm a sex worker doing indie porn with my husband, even if I'm not, you know, doing it all the time, and it's like a side thing we do sometimes. It's still considered sex work, but I'm not on the street hookering myself. And like I said, no disrespect to people who are, but like, it's a context, and there's time and appropriation of, and again, how you deliver and what your intention is with these words. That was something I wanted to open up with a discussion. But for me, it has been very empowering, where I feel like I've taken a lot of my power back, whereas like once in the past someone would say, you know, again, this was even when I was a virgin, I wasn't even sexual, so it's like it didn't even make logical sense that it hurt me because I wasn't having sex or any kind of activity, you know what I mean? I was abstinent at the time when I was being called a slut and a whore, so it was like, I don't know how it even hurt me for so long, but for me, it was really healing. It has been really healing to actually try some of these sexual fantasies that I never really had until after college, like after I graduated with honors, even with dealing with homelessness and all kinds of crap. And, you know, Xander and I have always had to work hard. We haven't always had a lot of support from family. We do, you know, I have an awesome uncle. My sister's there. I got a cousin. I got, you know, someone on my grandfather's side. My aunt Joe, cousin. I'm not entirely sure how we're related, but I do have some family that I love that I'm very grateful for. I have family in Germany, actually. Yeah, but, you know, I also choose more family, you know, and you have to, I think it's very important to surround yourself with people who definitely honor your boundaries, who care enough to even ask about your boundaries in the first place, right? And have these conversations. Like, if someone just like, if you're dating someone and you don't have the conversation about, hey, are you okay with being called a slut or a whore in the bedroom if we're getting it on? Like, and you just pull that word out in the bedroom, like, whoa, buddy, like, that wasn't kosher, that wasn't legit. Okay, back it up, back it up, right? Like, make sure that they're on the same page, that they're actually into that, so you don't, like, you know, hurt someone or like re-trigger, like bring up, like, you know, people don't need to relive painful memories, and it's already hard enough, like there's a lot of mental health disorders. I think we're still going. I think we're okay. Mental health awareness is also very important. I have struggled with PTSD and OCD in my past, and it's been very healing for me. Marvin Gaye said it, sexual healing, yes. But you got to do it carefully, right? You gotta be conscientious. You got to know what turns you on, what turns you off. Sometimes you might not even be fully aware that you're into something until you try it later, because like I said, I tried things later with my husband that I never would have tried in my youth, and I was like, wow, I was missing out. That's pretty fun. I'm not trying to push any certain experiences on anyone, to each his or her or their or whatever non-binary, each their own, whatever you represent. We're all part of the rainbow. We're all fucking, it's all love. It's all love. It's nothing but love. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up and just see what you guys and gals and all of my non-binary pals thought about that. And if you agree, do you agree that taking those words and using them in another way could be healing to a degree? Like where do you fall on it? Marmar says, be a grown-ass adult. If you can have sexual relationships, you should be adult enough to discuss boundaries first. Boom. Said it. That's what's up. Yeah, but one of the things that I almost forgot, and I just remembered this. So one of the things that prompted me to actually have this episode of Queer Talk is there was a comment. There was quite a few comments on this article that I read, right? And there was a guy who, of course, it's not always a guy, but I don't know, man. There's definitely things in society we're still healing as a whole, arguably, true or false. But there was someone who wrote what a whore was, right? They defined whore as a whole lot of different things. And one of the things that they defined as a whore, and when they said it was okay to call a woman a whore specifically, was if she was bisexual, because all bisexuals are whores. And that was like, I was like, wait a minute, what? Wow. Wow. Okay, so yeah, that's obviously not true. Being bisexual does not like automatically mean you're a slut or automatically mean you're a whore. But it's true that you may have more options, as they say, and it's like, what? Are you jealous? Are you jealous because you're heterosexual and you have less options because you're not bisexual or pansexual or gender fluid and not really caring so much about what they're even packing, but more about what their heart is and what their mind is and how they can carry on a conversation after sex? Because people that can only fuck, yawn, boring, sorry, try carrying a conversation, like I said, or doing something, beyond that. So that was something I wanted to bring up. But yeah, so yeah, the whole all whores or all bisexuals are whores, I was like, yeah, obviously not. That's an incredibly ignorant statement. That'd be, the saying that all bisexuals are sluts. It's the same thing, but it's like, just because I'm bisexual and I was in my youth, even though I was more timid and reserved and shy, like it wasn't really fitting or appropriate for anyone to call me a slut or a whore when I wasn't really exploring my sexuality as much. Even if I knew I was attracted to men and women, that didn't mean that I was sleeping with them. You know what I mean? Like, maybe my boyfriend and like, stuff like that. But like, yeah, I wanted to bring that up. And just because I'm a grown-ass adult and I'm a bisexual, happily married woman doesn't mean that I'm like fucking dudes and like ladies and gents and all my non-binary friends left and right. Like, first of all, again, if we closed our relationship, which we have done periodically, like we're not always seeing other people, we're not always making porn, we only have done it a little bit, like I said, like over the past few years, like here and there, like we've built up a pretty good collection over that time, but it's not like we're doing it every weekend or going to all these crazy sex parties. And no disrespect to our friends that are, I know friends that are going to sex parties and they love them, and we've even talked about going eventually and trying it. Of course, COVID hit, but you never know, it could happen. But yeah, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, if you're a slut, if you feel that you're a slut or you're a whore, there's nothing wrong with it as long as you're not hurting anybody. As long as, if you're going to be a slut or be a whore, I would say try to be an ethical one. Try not to burn bridges in your life. Try not to be destructive. Try not to, go behind your partner's back. But again, you know, Marmar said it. She said it. She said some people get off on the idea that they might get caught. So, you know, there are such thing as serial cheaters out there. Men and women are guilty, and everybody on the spectrum, no matter what, you know, trans, whatever, no matter what they identify as, they're all guilty, arguably, right? Like, we're all human, we're all susceptible to make mistakes. I'm just saying, you know, to make sure that we have these conversations before we try to lovingly apply these names to people. You know, if you're gonna use the label whore or slut, and you mean it in a loving way or in a way that you hope might arouse your partner or get them like more into the act, you know, into the sexual act, like that's something you should gauge beforehand. Just some friendly advice, right? So you know, because you could otherwise, you know, ruin a good thing. Like, for example, Xander knew that I wasn't okay being called a whore and a slut, you know, a long time ago. And he respected that. And as we explored things, you know, I opened up a little bit more, and I was like, you know what? I'm a good little slut for you, you know? And it, like, I don't know. I don't know how to say, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a word that was used against me, or tried to be used against me when it didn't even apply when I was a virgin. Again, when I was a virgin in high school, 13, 14 years old, it didn't even apply, okay? And I was called this by people, and again, this I know now in retrospect was jealousy. And you know, true or false, maybe even, you know what, it's not even just guys saying it to women, right? Women say it to women. That's, I can't go without saying that, you know. Some women are really terrible to other women, and you know what, I shouldn't even call them women, because they're not women, they're girls, okay? Some girls are terrible to other women, and they're worse at slut shaming and whore shaming than, you know, than men, than the people who have done it to them over the centuries, you know, in biblical times and shit like that. So that's not okay. I'm definitely here to endorse and condone empowering one another and being kind to one another and being accepting and loving of one another, even if you don't agree with each other all the time. All right, it's okay to agree to disagree. Marmar said it too, you know, be a grown-ass adult. Like, that's part of that too. You have to be able to agree to disagree. Like, if you have a conversation with someone and you find out their boundaries and they don't align with yours, like, you're like, but I can't, you know, and you're like, let's pretend, all right, I'm a dude, and I'm like, I can't nut if you can't be called a slut, you know, like, I just can't get off unless I call you a slut. Then, maybe call it quits, you know, maybe you're not a compatible relationship, because that's not fair to someone if they're not okay with it, if they're not, you know what I mean? Like, you can't force something you want on your partner. You gotta, if their boundaries are, no, don't call me that, you should know better and you should respect that. And if that's really a deal breaker for you, I mean, what, you know? And Marmar said, words can hurt, words can empower. Take your power with a heart. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, whereas once upon a time, someone who I've since cut out of my life tried to hurt me, and basically, the way I see it, tried to take my sexual power, tried to take my personal power, by calling me a slut, by calling me a whore, but doing it in a really nasty, degrading, vicious tone, and just like hatred, you know, contempt, like jealousy, truthfully jealousy, okay? When I, years later, with my husband, after, you know, like, sucking his cock, for example, and taking a hot load all over my face or something. Hello, everybody. And yes, we're having an episode of Queer Talk. This is an adult conversation and podcast. Anything is welcome as long as it's kind and respectful. There may be trigger words at times. I did do trigger warnings in the beginning. Q&A is also always welcome, and feedback is always welcome, because this is an open discussion. But as I digress, so where once these words hurt me, when I got to a point where I was like, wow, I think maybe I can feel okay, like, you know, getting slutty for my husband and being okay with that. Like, it's okay if I'm a slut for my husband. Like, I wasn't a slut in the past. I wasn't a whore in the past when I was called these things and it hurt me. Why did I let it hurt me? You know what I mean? Like, it didn't apply. Why did I take that? Why did I take those words and let them stab me? You know what I mean? Like, so when, as a grown woman, I'm like, yeah, Xander, like, let me be your slut tonight, and let me, you know, get freak, let's do something freaky, like, I'm gonna be your slut, let's role play, whatever. 10 years ago, I would have got so fucking triggered if someone, like, called me a slut or said this or said that, because I was like, I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe someone else can help me interpret this. I'm not sure. But all I know is when I was like, I think I'm okay with it, and I started to get more okay with it, I even got a little collar that I wear sometimes that says slut. And I'm like, yeah, try to hurt me now, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, try to hurt me now. Because I took that power back. I took the meaning of that word and I made it my own definition for me. And that's why I'm saying, like, nothing I say is concrete. This is all just this is all a discussion, okay? This is an open space of discussion. But for me, like I shared my experience of like how I'm an ethical slut with my husband and occasionally with friends, whether girlfriends or boyfriends or, you know, friends with benefits of ours occasionally. But how we're not, you know, being a slut in the sense that we're, you know, texting or setting up like hookups behind one another's back and not telling one another, or like, you know, gas. Like sometimes people get diseases that way. Like we're regularly tested. We're 100% clean. We're always very careful. We're very transparent. We never hide anything from each other. We're 100% transparent. We're 100% honest. Honesty is also very important in any healthy relationship. So if you are watching this, no matter where you fall on the LGBTQAI plus spectrum, even if you're straight, heterosexual, heteroflexible, however you identify, okay, whether you're dom, whether you're sub, whether you're switch, you know, like, definitely, like, just know that it takes balance, it takes communication, it takes honesty, and you need to know the boundaries as well, and you need to envelop all of these. So again, like, if they're not okay with it, you need to respect that. If they are okay with it, then hey, you guys are gonna have some hot, kinky, nasty friend with some hot, kinky, nasty fun with like some really dirty pillow talk. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, it's been wild, you know, and like, there's, like I said, there's still, you know, it is what it is. But it's like, you can, like, when people try to use words against you as well, while we're on that topic, like, you can decide to a degree if you want to believe that, you know what I mean? Like, take that on and like absorb it and like be like, okay, I'm gonna keep this, like, because we're all inevitably guilty, the human race, no matter what color under the sun, no matter what fucking sexuality, no matter what, okay, two-spirited, no matter what, okay, we're all guilty of human error. We all make mistakes. And, you know, unless, you know, maybe like, you know, the exception of like ascended masters and walking prophets or whatever you believe in, you know, like Buddha boy, you know, Jesus, things like that, you know, Muhammad, like, you know, whatever. Most of us are going to make mistakes occasionally. We might get angry. We might say something that we know might push someone's buttons, that, you know, like, we might say things we don't mean out of anger. We might say a word that we don't even know triggers somebody, and then it sets them off, and it's like, whoa, I just meant that, like, oh, fuck, you know, like a regular cuss word, and someone takes it as, like, way deeper than that from, like, deep-seated wounds. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, it's important, though, because by acknowledging these triggers, by acknowledging if something triggers you or if you're okay with it, you learn more about yourself, number one. And if you are, for example, as I did deal with triggers in the past, and I've healed and overcome and taken a lot of my power back from people who used to try to hurt me, when it didn't even logically make sense. And it's like, I have to forgive myself that I even allowed them to hurt me, because it's like, obviously I wasn't a slut when I was in high school, and like when I was even not in high school, working all these jobs and like providing for my grandfather. Obviously I wasn't a slut and a whore and all these horrible things. If I want to be a little bit of a slut with my husband now, I fucking earned it. You know what I mean? Like, I went through hell and I'm still here. So that's Marmar says, "Gah, great topic. Jumping off Blackhawk choppers just called into neighborhood. Oh my God, human error. We all do it, even if we do- human error. We all do it, even if we don't realize it. We need to pay attention to our feelings and others' feelings." I agree. And oh my goodness, Marmar, sending love. Please stay safe. Keep me updated. Sending love to our Minneapolis friends. With that, I actually did want to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Queer Talk, but you can find it with all other episodes of Queer Talk on our, you guessed it, our YouTube channel, which is The Band Famous TM. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And you can go and see the previous episodes if you haven't seen them yet. And thank you, everybody, for taking part in this discussion. And you can continue the discussion on our YouTube in the comments on the episode of your choice. So happy holidays, and thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I'm Norell with the band Famous, and this has been Queer Talk. Until next time, stay wonderfully strange and unique. Love you.